I do remember the Duffers telling us that there needed to be more blood. So Steve and Audrey went mad.
It's not real. I'm normal.
We are moving from the 1980s to 1959. It's all about creating a picture. I love this yellow coat. It's really very 50s. It's a very big play.
It's not real.
You are the shadow!
I'm Henry Creel.
Stranger Things, the first shadow, the play, is a pre-sequel to Stranger Things that was created by the Duffer brothers. We are moving from the 1980s to 1959. We got Joyce, we got Hopper, we got Bob, Karen, Ted. We are just seeing them basically in high school. The Western show is a little bit smaller. Kate, our writer, she's been sort of developing the story further with the Duffer brothers, with Steve and Audrey, with Justin Martin. The main story is about Henry Creel, who we know from the Netflix series. Sort of an outsider. His mother is a pill-popping Stepford wife. His dad is an alcoholic. You know, nobody really dresses exactly like that for high school. It's almost like his mother chooses the clothes for him. Henry forms a bond with a girl called Patty Newby. Patty is just not really allowed to fully be herself, so she dresses rather modestly. She's neither feminine nor masculine or boyish, but there's something extremely charming about her, which I try to sort of bring into the clothes. So these two outfits are Patty. I love this yellow coat that she wears. It's really very 50s in a very dark scene, so it's just also a pop of color. This one here is for the beginning of part 2. There is a lot of blood that happens in that scene, so she puts on a lab coat in order to protect this outfit from the blood. But it's just a very sort of typical Patty look. This is a leather finish. We had them in cotton, but the blood got on it and we couldn't get rid of the blood. So basically we had to find one that was made in leather. It's a very big play. Base costume is about 220 plus. As it's for stage, you have to make covers. So you have the base costume plus 2 covers, which takes the numbers into 500 plus. For stage, it's very important that everything has got a certain durability. 8 shows a week. Times, I don't know, 350 days. It's, you know, things have to be made in a rather very durable way. How I really like to get into a project is I like to do my own drawings. It's all about creating a picture. It's night, it's day, it's cold, it's hot. Then I also look at which character interacts with whom, what sort of goes with what clashes with what in a good way. When I had my first meeting with Steve and Audrey, he wasn't really interested in some sort of period drama. He told me to watch Rebel Without a Cause.
Dad, you told me. You said you want me to tell the truth. Now, didn't you say that?
So Joyce was just lovely to do. In the Netflix, she likes her khakis, she likes her stripes. Here is more Joyce research, basically. Checks, corduroys, berry colors.
Hey, I'm Allison Jay, and I play Joyce Maldonado in Stranger Things, The First Shadow.
She's always a little bit scruffy.
Yeah.
She's really cool, and things kind of look good on her, but she's not really like, for example, you know, Karen, who's our Barbie doll.
Yes, who's our perfect little Polly Pocket.
That's right. She is a tomboy, in a way. That's her appeal.
There is a tomboy energy in the shapes that allow me, as Allison, is very close to who Joyce is. I've been noticing, like, physically how I stand has changed because of the costumes.
This is actually a picture from Rebel Without a Cause. You've got Natalie Wood here. Lovely suede mustard jacket with little sort of burgundy pedal pushers. So we found a really lovely mustard colored country and western jacket, and I made her little sort of burgundy jeans. Obviously they have to look good. They can't drown your shape. However, they still have to look 50s.
Yeah.
So we found a really good way of, you know, the upper part to be more fitted. However, we left the leg a little bit more sort of grungy, I could say.
Even when all of the other women are in like wild colors and beautiful skirts and dresses, I always have either an overall or a pant.
We got a little vintage belt here. We got good socks. The hat is, we found it online, and I believe that there is one lady who knits them, and she's unbelievably excited that this is in the show.
There's such a massive responsibility taking on a character like this. But the gorgeous thing is they meet her in this show, 40s, 50s, as a mother. So I'm not the exact replica of what that is. So there is so much freedom to go, wait, let me open this door for you and show you how else to see her.
I think that was one of the most exciting things that I could really bring maybe to the table. Take the characters further. For example, Claudia Henderson, the character of Claudia Henderson. We don't really know much about her. So I put her in a sort of a Girl Scout outfit, and I created this knitted jumper that's got Prancer the cat on it. Okay, here is the cat jumper that I did. It's changed a little bit since I did the drawing, and these two looks were combined. This is a photo of the London cost, just you can see the jumper here rather clearly. A sample of the knit and her fabrics. This is the Claudia Prancer knitted jumper. I started with a bit of a smaller image, then I went larger, it was too large, and then basically we came up with this. And I'm really happy to say that this reads really well from far. You just immediately think, oh my God, there's Claudia, she's obsessed. You know, she's obsessed with her cat. I got in touch with Amy Paris, who is the costume designer for season 3 and 4. I got some images from Amy and some advice. We tried to recreate them, however we made them, we pushed them a little bit as it's stage. And for stage, the silhouettes are just a little bit enhanced and the colors are maybe a tiny bit stronger. The color scheme for the Hawkins High School I adopted for the varsity jacket for Ted and the cheerleader outfit for Karen. Oh yes, Karen and Ted, those two just sort of dress matchy-matchy. We were very careful just to go and get the right green and the right white and the right orange. Here is Karen Walker. Basically she's a little bit of a Barbie. She is a cheerleader. This is basically the research I have for that. She is a cheerleader right in the beginning of the play, and he's really connected to his varsity jacket. He basically ever gets out of it. She also is in a pink jumpsuit. These are the colors for the pink jumpsuit. Cerise, I call it, with this mint green. Weird, but so 50s. This is the great love story that starts in high school, and then of course that carries through to Netflix. He's become a little more boring, but she's still that sort of little Barbie. This one here is the sort of Sue look. We don't have a lot of girls in trousers, choices in trousers. The other one who is sort of towards that way is Sue. So I put her in culottes. Basically this ensemble you can use as a sort of all-in-one with buttons together. And at a later stage, we take it apart. These two are a couple, you know. These colors don't necessarily, they're not really matching, but there's something appealing about the combination of the whole thing. You will see this sort of color combination a lot. Well, I'm obsessed with lighting, and luckily, Jon Clark, our amazing lighting designer, has got a lot of patience. There are a few scenes where it was really crucial to go and work together. I looked at the hazmat suits from Stranger Things. You know, these hazmats appear over and over again. So it really needed to be something that you could enhance with lighting, or they weren't really going to be very intrusive in a scene. So these are the hazmat suits in season 1 to 4. Here are white hazmat suits. Also, there were some yellow hazmat suits in the series. So initially I thought maybe create a sort of a 1950s hazmat suit in yellow. However, white was going to be a little more neutral. You could bring it up in with the lighting or have it more in the background. We were trying to source a fabric, basically a plastic, that was extremely light and extremely white under the lights. We've chosen this fabric in connection with Jon Clark, the lighting designer. They're made in a plastic that is really great under the lights. It's like the whitest white you can find without it being fluorescent and glowing in the dark. These glow in the dark little strips here. Got matching boots, matching gloves, and the helmet, which has got an internal light and an external light, so you get a face. It's a long way to the last row. You really need to heighten colors and design in a way for stage. Each scene has got a sort of an identity. You have the play within the play. The students put on a play called The Dark of the Moon, and that is sort of feeds through the whole storyline. I felt very strongly when we developed it that it should be quite different to the rest. So the play is in black and white. The scenery is black and white, the costumes are black and white, just to make sure the audience understands, okay, this is a costume within the play. Well, this is one of the play costumes. There are two of these costumes. One of them is just in white without the blood stain. We just basically based it on some material just to show Stephen and Justin, the directors, okay, is the blood in the right position? Another designer basically said to me, oh, I love the way you've done the blood. It's really good. Which really, those kids might have done it that way. They might have just added patches of fabric instead of just, having it painted. Dark of the Moon is set in the Smoky Mountains in the sort of late 30s, early 40s. All the costumes were basically, we printed them. I was very inspired by American quilts.
I'm Juan Carlos and I play Bob Newby.
So Juan is basically in the play and he's a light and sound guy in the play. God, I love this coat. It's not easy to wear, is it?
Beauty is pain.
I think the Duffers have christened it the spiky coat, which is basically Bob's coat for the play. It's in a sort of a fake fur, and I've turned the fake fur upside down in order to sort of make it spiky looking. And I think that this is having an outing in season 5.
I remember the first time I put this on, it blew my mind. I just started, and I remember thinking, I can't wait for everyone else in rehearsals to see this.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think we should try the antlers, because you had a problem with them the other day, didn't you?
But how many times have we had to go through kind of changing this? But now they kind of fit perfect. I run on, I tell Joyce I can do the part, I run off, and I have about maybe 5 seconds to get into the coat and get into the antlers, and I have our wonderful wardrobe person Amelia back there holding the 2 straps open and come on, get it in, and I just run out.
This is fast change hell. Costumes on, off, magnets, poppers. It is a continuous thing.
The reason it's so relentless in that pace is because this doesn't play out like a typical play. There's no long monologues, or it plays out like an episode of the series. Most scenes are 1 minute long, and it's almost as if we're cutting from one scene to the next. So we as actors have to keep that energy as we're going through.
It's quite cinematic, actually, in a way.
Mm-hmm. I think it redefines theater.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. So this is how I start the research. This is Bob from the series. Next is the drawing. So I found this image of this college guy in shorts. So I thought that this is like absolutely perfect for Bob. Sort of an untrendy, awkward guy who is in love with Joyce.
The world sees him as just a Clark Kent. The reason why Clark Kent can take off his glasses and he's Superman is because he's just a nobody. But he knows deep down he's Superman. And I think here he has to discover that he's Superman. Something happens at the end of Act 1 that really changes Bob. And we joke about it a little bit. He's got Act 2 pants. They're very similar to his shorts, but they're pants. And he kind of matures into himself. By the end of the play, you see a very different version of Bob. We have a sort of a little bit of a dream sequence. Henry takes Patty on a little bit of a journey finding out about her mom. It was really a bit of a gift to go and create costumes for that. These are the showgirls and the showboys. I love a bit of glitz. It's a really visual number. It's very different to everything else in the play. This was the color inspiration for the whole showboy, showgirl scene, for that church dream sequence. There's nothing that's more Las Vegas than that. The fabric that I used for that scene really comes from Patty's mum in London. I used the fabric for Patty's mum in London, but it was so amazing under the lights that I thought, well, why not do a whole scene in that fabric? Showgirls usually sort of walk down a step or they walk across the stage. These are in a full-on dance number. All the feathers need to be specially wired in order to, give them a great durability, not to bend. We had feathers dyed in 2 different colors. We put the feathers together, we put the fabric together, and the result was sort of this really beautiful, pinky, corally vibe. The back color is a sort of darker color, and then you have a more pink color in the front, and together we achieved the sort of color that I was looking for. There's a lot of trial and error just to go and figure that out. And also about the headdresses, that this section here has to be really light. This has been in development for quite a while, this costume. There's one image that I came across that I thought, oh my God, that is like so perfect. Basically, showgirls on the way home. After the dream sequence, you have a scene where Patty's mom makes an appearance, and in the background you have all these showgirls. And instead of having them in like full attire still, we put some sort of vintage coats on them. This is a vintage coat. We've got quite a few of those. Fake furs,
we got leopard, we got brown furs. I mean, for me, it's like immediately American, Las Vegas. Having the Netflix to jump off was really, in a way, a challenge. It was really important to study, for example, Hopper. Things didn't go quite right for him in the 80s. However, in the 50s, he's this sort of all-American bloke. He likes masculine clothes. He likes his Hawaiian shirts. Here is Hopper in the Netflix, you know, it's looking scruffy, always sort of in a slightly bad mood. However, in the 50s, the future looked bright. So I tried to bring that, you know, very blokey look into this. Layering, checks, denims, leathers.
Hi, my name is Berg Swanson, and I'm playing James Hopper Jr.
This is the look for the dad machine, which is...
The directional antenna device, DAD.
Oh yeah, I knew that. All Hopper's items were bought. I don't know why that happened, but this is just how it panned out. It's quite important that in that scene, we have a lot of color because the scene is very darkly lit. Again, I've sort of tried to go and balance the colors in a sort of appealing way, but really keeping the identity of each actor.
Our set is so fluid in so many ways, and so we have had to find different ways of suggesting whether we're outside, inside, what the temperature is, what the time of year is, and so obviously the jacket helps with that.
You don't want to really say too much what happens, but the jacket comes off and something happens, which requires flame proofing. I shan't say anymore. And we got the blue jeans, again, they're sort of repro jeans. We got the boots and we got a couple of t-shirts.
Because it's so many layers, you see so many different versions of the same costume, which is really helpful for the character. When we see the TV show, you know, we see their cuts and bruises sort of get worse and worse over there. And what we've been able to find here is a way of showcasing the stress of the characters as the layers begin to come off. So it starts with the jacket, then it comes off, and then we pull up the sleeves so that we can see all of the different marks and bruises, and by the end we're all just sweating and running around.
Let me talk about blood. I do remember the Duffers telling us that there needed to be more blood. So Steve and Audrey went mad. Blood is everywhere, and obviously blood gets on everywhere. So you have to source the fabric, you have to test them for blood, you have to see how does the fabric stand up to this sort of, you know, maintenance, to the permanent washing. And you will have maybe 10 samples of a white lab coat, and that is going to be put through the wringer. You will put the blood on it, you will send it to the dry cleaner, you will wash it, you will just see what happens to it in order to go and find the right consistency for the blood and the right fabric. These items are going to have a lot of wear and tear, which actually is really quite beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, you were so kind to give me the Red Wing boots. The more that I wear these, the more that it feels lived in, and a very actor thing, but you know, just feeling like that is the character. This is like for hunting, so you would go out and put your game into the back pockets. It's a very subtle touch just by proxy of it being the jacket, but it does remind us that we're in a very rural community in the 1950s. Hopper in our story is not someone fighting demogorgons and like traveling to Russia accidentally. The Hopper that we know is afraid of his own blood. There's a lot of stuff going on at home, and I think it's not lost on me that this is probably not my jacket. This is probably my dad's jacket.
And here is the iconic Hawaiian shirt. I had to have a Hawaiian shirt in it. I thought I'm gonna bring that in the 50s and have a 50s version of these sort of iconic Hawaiian shirt. And usually they're in cotton, but we went for a reproduction that is in rayon. It just has a much more beautiful drape. So when he runs on and he jumps on the bar, it's got a sort of a really nice movement about it.
So much of what we remember about Hopper is what he wears. I think that opening shot of season 1 is so important because it is simply him getting ready for the day. You know, what we get to do here telling the story, you know, in 1959 is explore a totally different version of this character and where does they start. So all these seeds that get planted here will get completed in season 5 that's still being created. And this being so irrevocably linked to season 5, we didn't want to diminish the story that was already being told. We wanted to add to it.
I love this moment, to finally see everything together. It's a little nerve-wracking, but also it's really exciting. You can do some painting, you can do some distressing, add a pop of color, see all the work that every single department has put into it. You just pull it all together. It's really one of the most satisfying moments.
And Henry Creel.